welcome to another episode of the Collector Car Podcast. Something different. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know I'm not necessarily an open wheel race car guy, but RM Sotheby has quite the sale coming up here in a couple weeks. So to help us talk about some of these cool things that are coming up for sale, I've got John Sulman. John, how you doing today?
Good, Greg. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. And since this is your first time to the podcast, you do work for RM Sotheby's. Could you tell us a little bit about what you do for RM?
Sure. So I wear a number of different hats here at RM, and one of them is I coordinate special projects such as this that may be outside of our standard offerings.
Okay, so this is like a one-off collection that maybe isn't tied into like Amelia Island, Pebble Beach, that kind of stuff?
Right. So the one-off collections that aren't usually part of our calendar sales, that have unique items in them. I'm from time to time asked to get involved, and I really enjoy that role. Professionally, I'm also a attorney by trade, so this is a great opportunity to be able to involve myself in other parts of the business.
Well, you know, it is something fun I really enjoy about RM in that I never know what the next crazy collection is going to be announced. Like I'm not on the inner track where I'm part of these conversations. I get the email announcement like the day before the rest of the world sees it. And when I saw this come out, I was like, wow, that's super cool because I'm not an IndyCar guy, but I know some folks that are. This is the era that I remember. You know, the logos on these cars are really cool because they bring back such a period in the 90s. So just from an overview, tell us what is being auctioned off and where. You know, I mean, I know this is audio and video, so I'll have some of the pictures up here on the YouTube channel, but what
Sure.
exactly are we auctioning off?
So we are auctioning off some of the favorite best parts of the Newman Haas race team. So we have a number of open wheel cars. We've got memorabilia ranging from gloves to race worn race suits to a watch that Carl Haas, who was one of the partners in the race team, wore to many victory celebrations. There's trophies there. There's all sorts of great stuff. And from a historically significant perspective, there's some great race cars that won a number of races and had some drivers that were at the top of their game driving these things. So I can say from a team, we're super excited about this collection and think that it'll really pique the interest of a number of collectors.
Yeah, you did a great job there, kind of giving an overview, and we'll go into a couple of these I picked out. So I did start with kind of the automobilia, the non-race car stuff first for my general audience that maybe are not open-wheeled race car aficionados, but we will get to the big cars here shortly. So, you know, do you have a little insight as far as how this whole thing came about? Was it just, you know what, this stuff's been in our museum, whatever, in storage for a long time. We like to share it with the rest of the world. Was there something that precipitated this, or was it just a timing thing?
Little bit of everything. So I would say that in open wheel racing and in motorsports, this team was legendary. The principals were legendary. The success that they had was unmatched. So a number of people in this world knew that this collection was still held. And as they've had it for a number of years, I think they thought it was time to allow some other folks the opportunity to purchase and steward these items. It was also sort of a example of right place, right time. We were able to work with the team to put together what we thought was a very good offering. So.
Yeah, that's great. And as you're talking, if you're on YouTube, I'm scrolling through the cars that are on offer here, just for an overview as far as how large this collection is. And we've seen this at our auctions from the Formula One world. Some of these open wheel racers just being top tier collectibles nowadays. And it seems like it makes common sense that the Indy cars would follow suit. And I know that some of them have already traded for some pretty big dollars. One question I have, and I know this is a tough question, How do you come up with estimates on these? Because I know it becomes, history. It becomes who are the drivers. I see a big swing here from $40,000 for one car to $600,000 for another car. So that has to be a little tough to kind of put some numbers on these cars, correct?
Yeah, very fair question. It was tough to come up with estimates, and these estimates are put together through a lot of research, and our research team, who I think is the best in the business, pulled a number of comparators to these cars, and then they need to look at the provenance, the history, the drivers, the races that each individual car won, and then some of the components that are there. So we think we've put a pretty conservative estimates on these cars. It's interesting because as Zach Brown, the CEO of McLaren, recently said when asked about these, the IndyCar and kart world, their collectibles are, we think, undervalued, and so we've put a conservative estimates on these things, and we think that there's some really exciting stuff here that have provenance that is unmatched, and people will really enjoy these items.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's interesting because you mentioned the provenance and, the races that were won. So this could be a scenario where, the $40,000 car might just be a practice car. Maybe it never was in a race, maybe it was never even, maybe it was just a backup car or something. But then you've got, the championship, the car that took them to one of their championships. And that's where you see the vast difference in valuation. So let's jump into some of these automobilia and some of the non-race cars first. And you and I are not experts in automobilia, but let's just kind of go through kind of our thoughts. So the first one I have here, now, just as a reminder, let me look this up real quick. This actual auction is occurring on, let's see, what is it, October the 29th and the 28th? 2 days?
Yeah, so there's a preview on the 28th and preview in the morning on the 29th. Auction starts at 1 o'clock.
Okay, and that's in the
Central
Chicago area up at
That's
the
right.
Haas building, correct?
That's right. In Lincolnshire, Illinois, and all the details are on our website.
Okay, great. Yeah, so the first car I brought up here is like a kid's car, Newman Haas Racing, large scale, Mario Andretti number 5 model. Now the estimate on this is $3,500 to $5,500. And I know, I don't know much about these other than typically kids' cars go nuts at auctions, right? I mean, I don't know if, the guy just, he's got his grandkid with him and he wants to get him something cool and you get a bidding war. What are your thoughts on these? Did you have one of these as a little kid?
I wish I had one of these as a little kid. I mean, these things are pretty unique, interesting, and the livery is accurate to the time, and it's something. So I mean, there's some really cool stuff there. Certainly, you picked a good example of one.
Well, it's funny because you can tell this is like a little tiny race car. I mean, you got to get in that thing snug. I don't think I could fit my foot in there, much less my body. So that is
Right.
really, really cool. All
Mm.
right. This next one I wanted to pull up is it's a really cool model. So it's a Newman Haas Racing Kmart Texaco Lola Ford Cosworth Nigel Mansell model with display case. So this estimate's pretty strong, 12 to 17 grand, but this is a super quality piece. Do you know much about this car other than it's got some great logos on it, obviously, and from the period racing?
Right. And I think something like this that includes Nigel Mansell really uh, speaks to the value of it, because um, Nigel joined the team um, after winning the F1 championship, and then subsequently won the IndyCar championship. So I think that this is one of those pretty important memorabilia pieces that is era correct, and speaks to a time of significant winning with the Newman Haas team.
Yeah, and I love the details on this. I went ahead and flipped by it, but if you look in the cockpit at the racing seatbelts, I mean, the details are just outstanding. Just looking at this with the Kmart logo, I'm a child of the 80s and the 90s, so some of these brands speak to me. Dirt Devil, and this is funny, Anderson Racing, or Anderson Consulting, which is no longer Anderson Consulting. I had a roommate that worked for them in period. So really detailed, really cool, really beautiful. Definitely one to keep an eye on. All right, let's see what do we have next here. Championship trophies. So I just kind of picked one here. So this is the 2002 Kart Championship Trophy, $4,500 to $6,500. I just got to imagine this is a stellar piece to put in your man cave, right, as a conversation piece.
Absolutely, absolutely. And think about how much effort and sweat went into winning this trophy. I mean, it's, as you just showed there, it's a Tiffany and Co. Design trophy, and I mean, it just speaks to the success that the team had over many years.
Yeah, that is really insane when you think about that. So if you're one of these kart fanatics, definitely look at this, because we have not one, not two, but quite a few trophies available at this auction. All right, next is a Mario Andretti race worn helmet, $4,000 to $6,000. Again, this one speaks to me because of all the little branding I mentioned before, but most importantly, it was race worn by Mario, right?
That's right. That's right. And the design is very, very period correct and interesting. So it would be a cool piece to place anywhere in one's collection.
Yeah, very cool decal on the back, Mario 1994. Now, this is maybe a dumb question. I don't know if you know the answer or not, but do you know what the two holes are on either side of the Texaco logo up top there? I can't imagine what exactly that would be for.
I don't know.
All right, I'll cut this part out. All right, let's go to next. Now, this is pretty cool. You referenced it earlier, a Rolex watch. So this is one, it's a Zenith Daytona, estimate $20,000 to $30,000. Now, on the pre-call, you've summed it up very well. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about this one?
So this was Carl Haas's personal watch that was one of his favorites. He wore it to many victory celebrations, and so the provenance with it is quite unique, and the quality of the Rolex speaks for itself. But I mean, just think about all the interesting events that Carl wore this to, and I think that that brings with it a very interesting story.
Yeah, it really speaks to the times now, because Rolexes, as you know, have gone through the roof, as a lot of the other luxury watches. But what separates a silver Daytona Rolex from the other ones? And it comes down to rarity and provenance, and this one definitely has something that would be fun to talk to your friends about, when you're hanging out at the next Indy race.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, we're moving into vehicles here. Now, I picked this one because this is back when I had a Suzuki SV650 motorcycle, right when these were new. So this is a 2000 MV Augusta F4, but it's the Series Oro, which I know is a special edition one. Do you know much about these motorcycles?
About this particular motorcycle, yes. And I mean, when you say new, it is basically new. There's 86 miles recorded on this, and yeah, I mean, it's a great example of engineering, certainly.
Yeah, I read a little bit about them in that it was, let's see, the estimate of this one's 30 to 45 grand. They only made 300 of these worldwide. And like you said, it is basically brand new. And it's got the incredible colors, the red, silver, and kind of the gold underneath. And it has, I can't remember exactly. Okay. It has the yellow speedometer because the engine was developed by Ferrari.
That's correct.
Which is really cool. So I'm going to scroll back here so we can see the yellow. As a young kid on a motorcycle, I did not know why that was yellow, the tachometer. And so after all these years, I finally know why that is yellow. They're super cool. They have the quad exhaust coming out of the back. Very, very cool. MV Agusta. And like you said, low mileage. I mean, this thing is practically new. So that is very, very cool. All right, we're moving actually into cars now. I don't know. You know what? We didn't talk about it earlier, but what kind of cars do you like? You work for a collector car auction house. Like, what gets you excited? Is it a 1954 Jaguar XK120 or is it something else?
You know what? I actually really like the idea of open car racers. Being able to take something like that out on a weekend track day
Yeah.
and push the car a little bit. That's really where I have interest in vehicles, and it just so happens that this sale is jam packed with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Now, this one was personally owned by Carl, correct?
That's right. That's right. And restored a few years back. Beautiful colors. Very, very nice Jaguar example.
Yeah, and the estimate on this one's 50 to 65 grand. I won't spend too much time on this because I know we want to get to the race cars, but really cool 1954 Jaguar XK120. For you, those of you who have not heard it from me before, the 120 stood for top speed, which was a record at the time. If you go back to my podcast, The Fastest Car from Every Decade, you'll know that Jaguars had it for 1 decade. So very cool, iconic car that you can buy while you're shopping for Indy cars. All right, our first race car here. This one's interesting because it's not an open wheel race car. It's a 2007 Ford Fusion NASCAR. And I brought this one up because I know NASCARs are pretty hot right now. This was part of their 2007 NASCAR Busch Series effort. Low price point, $20,000 to $30,000 on this. And it has a Roush Yates race prepared V8 engine. Now, you're a NASCAR guy at all?
A little bit, but I can tell you, being there, listening to this thing in the shop, it is it's quite a machine for $20,000 to $30,000. The team put this together for a driver, and it's a cool piece. That would be fun to have and use a little bit from here and there.
Oh yeah, that would be a lot of fun. It currently doesn't have much livery on it. I would cover it up with Dirt Devils and Kmart stickers or something. Marion, I don't know, just to get that period vibe from the team is something that I would do. All right. I did pull up our last automobilia here is this Toyota Motorsport engine with stand, $5,000 to $7,000. I just brought this up because I thought this would be cool to have in any, cave, man cave, woman cave, whatever you want to call it. Just in the corner there. It's such an iconic engine. Is this something that you wouldn't mind having in your garage?
I'd love to put something like that in my garage and be able to talk about where it came from and the engineering and what it was used for. So it's a really cool piece.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. All right. So if you've tuned in to hear about open wheel race cars, we are finally getting there. So we're going to talk about this one. The first one we have here is pretty iconic. It's a 1984 Lola Cosworth T800. Now, this is not one of the practice cars. This is one of the big cars. Estimates $500,000 to $800,000. One of 5 examples built. What do you know about this car? Did you have a chance to sit in this one?
I have not sat in it, but admired it there in person. And we had the pleasure of having Mr. Andretti speak to the collection. If you see on our website, we've got a pretty cool video with Mr. Andretti and Mr. Zach Brown as well, speaking to this collection and these cars. And this particular car was used in Mario's '84 season, which was championship season. And obviously Mario Andretti is one of the biggest names in motorsports, and in this he piloted to a championship season. So we think this is one of the premier and iconic cars in the collection, and would absolutely be a wonderful addition to anyone's collection.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually paused here on one of the photographs in the cockpit. If you look at the top gauge, it's interesting. It's the manifold pressure gauge, and it's actually turned on its side. So I would assume, that's probably, if that arrow is pointing straight up, you got a big problem, would be my reasoning as far as why they maybe turned it on its side. Now, I did pull some additional information just because I know a lot of folks listening to this podcast know who Mario is, but I just wanted to give a brief overview. And our writers at RM Sotheby's are so good. If you've never had a chance to read some of the copy to some of these cars, I highly suggest you do, because the writing is so strong. So I'm just going to read a quick paragraph here while I continue to scroll through some of these pictures. Quite possibly the most successful racing driver of all time, Mario Andretti is that rare sports figure that so transcended his niche he became a household name, a synonym for speed among average Americans. During the 42-year career, Andretti achieved countless metrics and superlative claims, winning 150 races in 950 starts across Formula One, IndyCar, World Sports Car Championship, NASCAR, midget car, and sprint car racing. Along the way, he roared to 4 Indy championships and 1 Formula One championship, and 3 times was voted Driver of the Year. So if you're not an Indy, or if you're not a Mario fan after that paragraph, I can't see how you cannot be a Mario fan, right?
That's right. And again, our writers and research team are some of the best in the business, and their writing is excellent.
Yeah, it's really, really strong stuff. All right, our next car I wanted to talk about briefly. Let's see, I just pulled it up on the screen here. The 1991 Lola Chevrolet T91/00. Now, the estimate on this one's pretty big, wide spread here, 250 to 750. That tells me that this is somewhat specialized. It might be a little harder to nail down, but I know at the auction we'll figure out what this car is really worth based on the folks bidding on it. What do you know about this one? Any bullet points you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah, so we just talked about Mario Andretti, and this team had Michael Andretti as well, Mario's son, driving alongside him. And this is a Michael championship car, his first championship, and it's equipped with its 2.65 liter V8, workshop manual, laptop, and cables. So this is a historically significant car. It has all of its required components, and it's been in the Haas stewardship for a number of years. So we think this is a pretty important car, and will be very valuable to its next owner.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you can really see the wear, especially right now I'm on the driver's seat. You can see the wear on the Texaco emblem there, just from getting in and out of this race car throughout that championship winning season. So it's that patina on the car you want to see. You don't want to see it over restored. You want to see it as much as in race condition as you can. And it looks like this one is perfect, just really well presented. Well, you mentioned this is a big deal car. I think our next one is the really big deal car. So this one we're pulling up now. It's a 1993 Lola Ford Cosworth T93/00. And this is the one that you kind of you mentioned earlier. Now the spread on this one's 400 grand to 900 grand. Now this is the Nigel Mansell car. So what, I know you mentioned it earlier, but could you please repeat the importance of this car?
So, yes, we feel this is a extremely important car in the collection, and not just in the collection. I mean, this is an iconic car in motorsports. Nigel Mansell won the F1 championship in '92, and then he came and drove for the Newman Haas team in '93 and won the IndyCar championship as well. In this car powered him to 4 out of 5 of his victories that season, and it is a car that an iconic driver spent significant time in, and has just winning credentials. So we're very happy to be able to offer this car to a new home.
Yes, yeah, it's really cool. And like I said before, it falls right into that period look, like all the other cars have. Just a really cool, iconic, historic car that's available at this sale. All right, we have one more to go. Now, I didn't want to end on that big car. I thought we might throw one more in there. And this one I found pretty interesting. So this is the 2002 Lola Toyota B02/00. Now, the estimate on this one is 200 to 600 grand. Sounds like this one was pretty significant as well, but more for Lola. Is that right?
So this car is from a number of years later from 2002, and Cristana D'Amata drove this and during his 2002 season, and contributed to Newman Haas's fourth kart championship season. So pretty important car for the Newman Haas team, and yeah, excellent.
Yeah, it's a really great car. And another reason it's important is it helped Lola earn its first kart constructors championship. So this is iconic from a Lola perspective as well, being the first one to do that. So some strong provenance on this car. Like I said, a lot of cool stuff coming to the auction. If you could you just give our listeners a little overview again as far as when and where they could see these cars, and then register to bid if that's what they want to do?
Sure. So all of the important information is on our website, and I encourage people to go there at rmsotheby's.com. The sale is on October 29th in Lincolnshire, Illinois, and we have a preview on October 28th for people to go and view the cars in person and really, really inspect them. Also on our website are the complete catalog with a series of pictures to allow people to educate themselves on the vehicles and memorabilia.
Awesome, John. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Collector Car Podcast today.
Great. Thanks very much, Greg. Appreciate it.